Starting to go on.
Tell me when I'm supposed to, when I'm live.
Okay. You are live and unmuted.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is the Coastal Permit Administrator hearing for February 11th, 2021. For the record, the time is 10:01 as the meeting is getting started.
Can I?
And so what I'm going to go ahead and announce this is a virtual meeting. And let's see here. I guess my first question is determination of noticing. Have all the cases been properly noticed?
Everything's been properly noticed.
Thank you very much. Moving on.
Before we start the agenda, could I ask these couple of panelists which item they want to speak on? They didn't tell me in their email. So I'm going to allow Carol. I've allowed you to talk. If you unmute yourself, you can press *6. There.
Right.
Hi. Which meeting?
Yes, but
Or which case did you want to talk on?
I think we're number 4 or 5 on the list.
Your Pierce? Carol Pierce?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
I will let you know when we're on that item and when you can speak. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll mute myself now.
Yes, thank you.
And as I go through the agenda, I'll go ahead and mention the case number, applicant, agent, and so on. And then at that point, those that are waiting to speak on the case will be given an opportunity to speak when I call upon the owner, applicant, or agent. And then after that has happened, I will open it up to the public. But that's generally the process. So with that said, first things first, I want to go ahead and note that case CDP 2020-0015 for Graffin. I have a memo here from staff requesting a continuance. Basically says planning staff requests continuing consideration of CDP 2020-0015 regarding test wells to the February 25th, 2021 Coastal Permit Administrator. And so I just want to go ahead and announce that case 3D, CDP 2020-0015, owners Craig and Janine Graffin will be continued to February 25th, 2021. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the first case. This is item 3A, and this is boundary line adjustment B 2020-0036. Okay, the owner applicant is Jay Gray, agent is Jim Ronco, and the request is a boundary line adjustment to reconfigure 2 ± acres between two separate legal parcels. Parcel 1 being assessor's parcel number 69-0070-03 will increase from 3.8 acres to 5.8 acres, with parcel 2 being APN 069-080-10 will decrease from 58 acres to 56 acres. The project is located in the coastal zone, approximately 4 miles northeast of Cleone Center on the north side of Camp 1 10-mile road, 1.5 plus or minus miles east of the intersection with State Route 1, located at 31,000 Camp 1 10-mile road in Fort Bragg. Okay, may I have a staff report, please?
Hello, good morning. This is Sam Vandy Vandewater, and I will be going over this project. So as you mentioned, this is a boundary line adjustment to reconfigure approximately 2 acres between 2 parcels under the same ownership. The change is really just moving some land on the larger parcel, parcel 2, to adjoin with some ranching land that is consistent, or that is currently what is used for parcel 1. The project was referred to a number of agencies, and not one agency replied back with any comments. So there's not believed to be any concern by any of the referral agencies. With regard to the key issues, the project was found to be consistent with the general plan and zoning regulations, as well as the division of land regulations. In terms of the local program consistency, the project was reviewed against the various policies that the coastal element outlines for boundary line adjustments, and the project was found to be consistent with all coastal element regulations for boundary line adjustments. And lastly, all the findings required per the Mendocino County Coastal Zoning Code were found to be, the project is found to be consistent with all those findings. And with that, the applicant, or I believe Jim is joining us this meeting for comment, but from my understanding, the applicant is in agreement with the conditions of approval. And with that, staff recommends approval of the project with condition.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we have Mr. Ronco on the line?
Yes, he is. He should be coming through.
Hello?
Jim, good morning.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay.
You heard staff's presentation. This is your opportunity to have anything to say and mention. So you're on.
Okay. Thank you very much. I can't. I'm getting a lot of reverb.
You probably need to turn your speakers
Watching
down.
this on the computer as well. I would recommend muting the computer because we'll pick it up on your phone. Mute the computer, not your phone. So *6 if you're on the phone.
Oh, that was me. I had to let the phone number in. He should be able to unmute himself now.
Is this
It's better now.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I have no further comment. I think the staff report was done excellently. This project really involved
Using an existing fenced pasture that's been used by the little house for years, and just making that, in theory, part of the parcel. So that's the only change, and may save a few sheep's lives and starve some coyotes.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right. Okay, so now I will go ahead and open this up to the public. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter?
No, there's not.
There's not. All right, so I'll go ahead and return this back to the Coastal Permit Administrator. And, based on staff's presentation and the items contained in the staff report, I don't see any issues here. So the Coastal Permit Administrator will approve this boundary line adjustment 2020-0036 for J. Gray, making the findings contained within the staff report as well as the recommended conditions of approval. And with that, Jim, your project is approved.
Thank you very much, and welcome back, Nash.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I look forward to getting well and darkening your doors more. Just what you need.
Anytime. You are very welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to leave now.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Moving on to case number 3B. CDP 2017-0002. The applicant owner is Bruce Van Dyke, and this is a request for a standard coastal development permit to follow up to an emergency permit EM 1-2014 for an emergency grease trap removal and relocation that was completed in November 5th, 2015. The project has been deemed to be categorically exempt under CEQA. The project is located in the coastal zone in Little River on the west side of State Route 1, 0.2 plus minus miles north of the intersection with Little River Airport Road, and located at 7746 North Highway 1, Little River. Assessor's parcel number 121-280-17. And I have Mr. Vanderwater as the planner on this. Could I please get a staff report? Vandy?
Sorry, my bad. I kept myself muted. Okay, let me start over. Again, my name is Sam Bandy Vandewater. And as you mentioned, this is a CDP for a follow-up to an emergency permit for an emergency grease trap removal. So this CDP is just formalizing that removal. The only agency that provided comment during our referral period was Environmental Health, who requested that they get plans submitted for the new grease trap. So that has been added as a condition of approval. With regards to local coastal program consistency, the project is found to be consistent with all the policies of the coastal element, but two items that I would like to address briefly are the hazards and the biological. I'll start with the biological, which there was a study completed, and it was found that the replacement grease trap was placed within an area identified as non-native grassland. So the project was found that it did not impact any ESHA habitat directly, but it is within 100 feet of an ESHA. So Fish and Wildlife has agreed to a ESHA buffer reduction down to the 50 feet, which the project adheres to. And we've also added conditions that that the applicant just plant a few native native species in the non-native vegetation area to just begin the support of native vegetation restoration. With regards to the hazards, again, because this was a grease trap that was failing and could have resulted in, the grease material and the stuff that ends up in that grease trap, it could have ended up in the facility itself, which is host to a restaurant, a grocery store, and the post office for Little River. And additionally, it could have ended up outside of the structure and being washed into Little River down below where Van Dam State Park is, or into sensitive vegetation. So this CDP really is to address the hazard management that the emergency work was preventing. With that, the project was found to be categorically exempt from CEQA, and the project was reviewed against the various policies and findings of the Mendocino County Coastal Zoning Code and found to be consistent with all necessary findings. And with that, staff recommends approval of the project with the associated conditions. Thank
you very much. All right, so do we have anybody from the owner applicant side? Do we have Mr. Van Dyke on the line?
No, we do not.
All right. Do we have anybody else?
No.
No.
There was I did get some contact from one of the property owners with Bruce Van Dyke, who said he wanted to attend and he was provided the information, but it does not appear that he provided Angie with the appropriate information to attend the meeting today.
Okay.
But he did not express any concerns to me regarding the conditions of approval.
All right. Thank you. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Anybody wishing to speak on this matter may do so at this point.
There are no public speakers.
Nobody here to speak on this item. All right, with that, I will go ahead and return it back to the Coastal Permit Administrator. I've reviewed the staff report, the findings contained in the staff report, as well as the recommended conditions of approval, and I don't see anything here that would, stands out. And staff, thank you for a very detailed staff report on this. It's probably the most detailed staff report I've ever seen on a grease trap removal. And so here we go. I'll go ahead and make the necessary findings contained within the staff report and approve the project subject to the conditions of approval and findings contained within the staff report. So that's that on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so moving on to the next case. Okay. Next case is CDP 2019-0050. The owner is Maxine Filter. The applicant is Within Bank Construction. Agent is Danielle Miller. This is a request for a standard coastal development permit request for an after-the-fact residential deck, addition of 640 square feet. Project is located in the coastal zone, 5.8 miles plus or minus south of Fort Bragg City Center, lying on the west side of Hanson Circle, approximately 0.1 plus or minus miles south of the intersection with Casper Drive. And the address is 14,350 Hanson Circle in Mendocino. Parcel number is 118-370-14. And this project is categorically exempt from CEQA, and staff planner is Matt Goins. So can I please get a staff report?
He's unmuted. Why is he muted?
Mr. Goins.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you for the introduction, Interim Director Gonzalez. My name is Matt. As indicated, the request is for a standard coastal development permit for a 640 square foot deck addition to a single family residence. In addition, there's a small concrete walkway, very small. The applicant is required to obtain a CDP because the construction project is greater than the 10% addition allowed in subchapter 6, which is part of the California Code of Regulations. The parcel is owned rural residential and is approximately 0.3 acres, located about 5.8 miles south of Fort Bragg, located at 14350 Hanson Circle. The new deck will connect to our previously approved deck, permit number LCP 167-81. The project is in an appealable area and has shared jurisdiction with us. Staff has obtained a waiver from the California Coastal Commission for any further permits regarding the property, waiver number 1-88-13W. The deck will be an elevated deck attached to the residence, creating minor ground disturbance and minimizing any impacts. No new utility connections are being proposed. The project was referred to responsible agencies where no comments of concern were received. The project is exempt from CEQA, as previously stated, under section 15303, new construction. So staff, the project will be consistent with the findings per section 20.532.095 and is consistent with the local coastal program. Standard conditions apply and staff recommends approval of the project. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Matt. So with that said, do we have the applicant on the line?
No, we do not.
All right, so with that said, I want to go ahead and point out that I do have a piece of correspondence here, but I will read that into the record. But first, I want to go ahead and open it up to the public. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this matter?
Nobody from the public.
Nobody from the public wishing to speak on this. I return it back to the CPA. So I have an email that was received by the department dated 1/29/2021. And this is to Mendocino County Department of Plan and Building Services regarding case CDP 2019-0050, set for hearing February 11th. And it says, should the filter deck be approved retroactively? Question mark. Please enter our opinion regarding our neighboring property at 14350 Hanson Circle, owned by Maxine Filter. We were shocked that the department is wasting its time with this trivial matter, such as during a pandemic. And the deck in question, which we have seen, is a great improvement over the old one, which suffered from some decay. The deck cannot be seen from the ocean. Indeed, if it cannot be seen from the street. It is located mainly on the northwest and southwest sides of the house. It should have been approved long ago. It is one of the few projects which employed a workforce struggling to survive during the pandemic, and has long assumed by buyers that the home in our subdivision of Casper South were grandfathered into terms of construction exempt from the coastal permit. We assumed that it was with a misunderstanding of the need for a permit construction subsequent completion of the permitted structure, and good faith believed that the new construction was exempt. That places this matter before the department today. We therefore urge the department to impose no penalty and approve the new structure as built. All right, so thank you very much, Linda Danton and Alan Stein, for your comments. And so I wanted to go ahead and read that into the record. So it looks like we have support from the neighbor. I've gone ahead and reviewed the findings and recommendations contained in the staff report, and I don't see any conflicts here. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and approve CDP 2019-0050, subject to the conditions of approval contained within the staff report as well as the findings. And with that said, this project is approved now. All right, and moving on to the next case, and this one is CDP 2020-0015, and the owner is Craig and Janine Griffin, and the applicant agent is Superior Pump and Drilling. This is a request for a standard coastal development permit for 3 test wells on an undeveloped parcel. Location, this is in the coastal zone, located 4.3 miles northwest of Guala Town Center, lying on the west side of State Route 1, approximately 0.4 plus or minus miles southeast of the intersection with Olson Lane, located at 34,550 State Route 1 in Guala, parcel number 143-016, 143-161-09. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt. And I do have, I believe, correspondence on a memo on this that is requesting a continuance, as I mentioned earlier. And there is also a correspondence received from James A. Lauder. And so this item is, I'm opening this up, but it's going to be continued. But I also wanted to note that there's correspondence that has come in on this. And so at this point, I'll just go ahead and continue the item to February 25th, 2021, and defer any action or anything on this until such time. Mr. Goins, this is your project, so is there anything that you would like to add?
No, just that it's continuing because some new information is coming to my purview here in the last 2 days. I need to work with the North Walla Water Company to make sure there's no conditions they have. I need to to reach out to them a little more closely and talk with the applicant a little bit further about the project. But we should be good to go on the 25th.
Okay, so with that said, is there anybody online wishing to speak on this project?
No, there's not.
Nobody present. All right. So with that, I'll go ahead and continue this item to the February 25th, 2021 Coastal Permit Administrator hearing. All right. So moving on to the next case, which is number 3E, case number CDP 2020-0017. Owner applicant is Kathleen and Lloyd Chasey. Standard code, this is a request for a standard coastal development permit to install a wood fire oven, expand an existing upper deck, construct a lower deck, and install exterior lighting. The environmental determination has been determined to be categorically exempt from CEQA. And this project is located in the coastal zone, 4.5 plus or minus miles north of Anchor Bay on the west side of State Route 1, located at 30,230 South Highway 1 in Guala, assessor's parcel number 142-031-10. So, Juliana Cherry is the staff planner. May I get a staff report?
Certainly. Juliana Cherry, Planner 3 with Mendocino County Planning and Building Services. Proposed is really a very simple project. Given its location, a coastal development permit was requested. The applicant wishes to add decking on 3 sides of their home. And so they applied. The property is located right above a lovely cove, and the project is less than 150 feet from the shore. So our code requires that we look at hazards related to erosion and bluffs, and the applicant provided a geotechnical report that provides a minimum bluff setback, and the decks would be located farther east than that distance. The project site is also on our maps, a area of potential sensitive habitat. So the applicant provided an update to a previous site survey about botanical and biological habitat on the site. And the biologist found that there were no sensitive plants within the area of the proposed project. The project was referred out, and comments were not received from California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Staff finds that things like septic, leach fields really aren't applicable to installing an exterior deck at this location. But we did get a response from air quality because a wood burning stove is proposed. The wood burning stove is an oven, a pizza oven, and is exempt from air quality rules because it's associated with preparing food at a residence. It's not a commercial venture. The project site is also designated highly scenic. It is a beautiful location. With the proposal to put lamps around the deck to illuminate the deck, staff is recommending condition 10, requiring that the lamps be down shielded and not be a source of glare. The project site, as I mentioned, is right above a cove, and this is a coastal access point. And so if you look at, say, exhibit, the aerial imagery, exhibit G shows the coastal access on the map, and then exhibit C shows the aerial image, and you can see how close the coastal access trail is just to the north and west of this project site. So it's not impacting the coastal trail, but it does have very approximate access. This concludes staff's presentation. If you have questions, I'd be delighted to answer them. I do see that the applicant is already logged into the meeting, and I have not received public comment for this project.
Thank you very much. And I do note that the property is somewhat shielded by tree cover to the south, to the Highway 1 to the north, And then the coastal trail that you mentioned, there appears to be some vegetation along the boundaries. So thank you for that last clarification on the condition 10. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and ask the applicant, Kathleen Chasey, am I pronouncing it right?
You are.
All right. Ms. Chasey, this is your opportunity to speak on the project.
Thank you very much. Pretty much because it is a beautiful location. Thank you, Juliana, for saying that. And when it was originally subdivided, in the 70s, they did plant throughout this whole subdivision all of these trees all the way around. So no one will ever actually see this deck, even those accessing the beach. So that's very nice for everyone. Our homeowners association has approved it. Also, I'm not sure I even sent Juliana that information. So that's probably all I have to say.
All right. Thank you very much. So with that said, I will go ahead and ask if there's anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this matter.
There are no public requests.
Thank you very much. Returning it back to the Coastal Permit Administrator. After careful consideration and reviewing the staff report and listening to testimony, I will go ahead and move to approve this project based on the findings and recommended conditions contained within the staff report. Ms. Chasey, thank you very much. And Juliana, thank you.
Welcome. I would like to add that the project is not only subject to the local 10-day appeal period, but following the conclusion of that, there is a notice of appeal period published by the California Coastal Commission, which is also a 10-day time frame.
Thank you very much for catching that.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. My daughter, who's getting married, if the vaccine all works out, is going to get married on this new deck. So thank you.
Well, congratulations. It's always, nice to hear that something good is going to come out of this.
That's right. All right. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to the next case. Case number 3F. This is CDP 2020-0021. The applicant owner is Carol Pierce. The agent is Jay Andreas. Request is the standard coastal development permit for an after-the-fact construction of a detached garage and tool shed, including the request to rebuild the existing 1969 second residential unit, including removal of a portion of its attached garage and storage space, construction of a new detached garage and replacement septic system under Phase 1, as well as rebuild and construct additional living space to the existing 1940 single-family residence, including the construction of a new wooden fence, which would be in Phase 2, including the connection to an existing well and utilities. The project is located in the coastal zone northwest of Casper Town Center on the west side of Casper Road, approximately 500 feet north of its intersection with Casper Street, and 600 feet west of Casper Road on a private road located at 15,164 Casper Road. Assessor's parcel number 118-05005. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt under CEQA, and the staff planner is Jesse Waldman. May I please get a staff report?
Thank you, CPA Director Gonzalez. Nice to have you back. And thank you for reading the description and location. I realized that was a little bit long. This coastal development request is an after the fact in portions of Phase 1 with proposed new improvements on the site. The parcel is approximately 1.2 acres in size, surrounded with similar size and zoned parcels of coastal rural residential, and where the adjacent parcels are greater than 1 acre but less than 5 acres, with the exception of the parcel to the south, which is zoned remote residential and is part of the Casper Headlands State Beach and Preserve with designated access to the Casper Doyle Creek shoreline access. The parcel, as stated in the request, was developed originally in 1940 with a single family residence, including accessory structures such as a barn, a pump shed, and a storage shed. And then in 1969, the barn was converted into a second residential unit with an attached garage, carport / storage building. And I bring this up because it's important about the consistency that I found is the project is consistent with our policies for the coastal element and with our zoning regulations, and I will discuss that further. I would like to take note that on page 5 of the staff report, paragraph 9 specifically, this was not presented in a memorandum. I just realized this morning that the staff report states that it will have a 0.9% increase of lot coverage. And based on my calculations, it should be 1.9 increased lot coverage, going from 4.6 to 6.5 instead of 5.5, which is still consistent with the allowed 20% lot coverage. I just wanted to make that note. The additional lot coverage is based on the proposed addition to the single family residence, the 1940 home, and the proposed garage carport associated with the 1940 single family residence. I'm going to now talk about the second residential unit, which was developed in 1969 prior to the local coastal program. The proposed use is considered a legal non-conforming use where the project is neither requesting to increase or reduce the intensity of the use or to be relocated. While the garage is proposed to become a detached garage to the second residential unit, it is within the existing footprint of the existing second residential unit attached garage. Thus, staff has found that this request to separate the second residential unit and the garage and rebuild them is consistent with our coastal element and our rural residential and our non-conforming uses. The parcel is mapped within a highly scenic area, and conditions 10 and 11 are recommended to ensure that the project is consistent with the visual resources and the coastal element and the zoning regulations. Staff has prepared a memorandum that was posted on our website yesterday. The memorandum is dated February 10th. And this memorandum is in partial relation to visual resources and the habitat sections of my staff report. And this is due to comments that were presented to the county in September of 2020. However, in my staff report, it clearly states that the Coastal Commission did not respond. Thus, I generated this memorandum. And this memorandum was regarding clarifications regarding the regarding the second residential unit, which I've discussed and I reiterated in my clarification number 1 in my memorandum. And then there was concerns about the parcel being adjacent to the public access lands to the south, and about landscaping and preserving potential plant habitat going into the public resources area. And I'd like to recommend an added condition number 13, where the landowner would be furnishing a landscaping plan with planting of native regional appropriate species and areas of bare on the parcel, and the areas of bare soil created by grading, if that needs to be resolved, should be revegetated as soon as practical, using a native erosion control seed mix, and for approval of the coastal permit administrator or the satisfaction of the director. The last issue that I would like to bring up, or key issue, was that the project did not provide an archaeological survey, but it was presented to the Archaeological Commission for Mendocino County, where it was determined a survey was not required. And the commission recommends the standard discovery clause condition, which is condition 8 in my staff report, as well as a second condition, which is condition 9. And it is recommending that photography of the 1940 home be provided and submitted to the Mendocino County Historical Society and the Northwest Information Center. Staff has reviewed all of these recommendations, including the memorandum dated February 10th, yesterday, with the agent, who stated that he's discussed these or will be discussing them with the landowner. And the agent was in acceptance. I have received no public comment, and yes, the project is deemed, I have found the project to be exempt, categorically exempt from CEQA, and I would recommend conditions of approval. I would recommend approval with the conditions and the memorandum. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So with that, I will ask if the owner and agent wish to speak on this matter.
We have the agent and the owner.
All right.
Mouse, it'll work.
Who would like to go first?
There we go.
Jay or Carol?
Okay, you're both muted, but allowed in the meeting.
Hi, this is Jay Andreas. Am I being received?
We can hear you. Go ahead, Mr. Andreas.
Thank you, Jesse. It's a tongue twister. It's slightly complex when it's laid out and you're not on the site. But if I can clarify a few things, phase 1 is the rebuild of the existing detached garage, which is the after the fact structure noted in the staff report. Just to give you a little bit of background, there was some very large trees that have fallen and pretty much destroyed parts of every structure on the property, including this after the fact detached garage. So part of phase 1 would be that permit, which work has begun on that and has been stopped. Also part of phase 1 would be the rebuild and renovation of the existing primary residence, which originally was the barn, and the detached garage. And as Jesse noted, all proposed development would happen on existing development footprint. Phase 2 would be the second residence, which is the original house for the property, for this property, which was workforce housing for the adjacent property. When it was all one big property, it was workforce housing for that and became part of the primary residence for this structure back in 1940. The staff report is a little misleading in that we are proposing additional living space to that structure, but we're not adding any square footage to the existing footprint of the structure. So I have the assessor's notes that have the structure at 620 square feet with a utility storage area of 105 square feet. And the difference between that and what we're proposing is prior to my client's ownership of the property, they enclosed the front porch. To sum it all up, we are not proposing any development outside of the existing footprint from the 1940 structure. The only new development that is being proposed, only new developed area on the parcel that we're proposing is the north fence, which is shown on the site plan. And that sums it up. Jesse did review the memo with me. I have not been able to run it by the owner. Carol, which is available, I think she's you might want to talk next. And we we agree with all the conditions of approval at this point. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Andres. Hey, just for clarification in my education, you mentioned workforce housing serving the parcel next door back in the 40s. What was that?
It is what around here we call skid houses.
Uh-huh.
It was 2 skid houses put together, and it
No, but what was the adjacent use that this housing had to provide?
It was a farm. It was a farm way back when.
Okay.
And so this whole area was under one ownership as a farm. And so the farmhouse is actually part of the neighbor's parcel, the adjacent parcel to the west.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because looking at the aerial, I thought there's a house next door or something, or a subdivision, but I didn't know that was a farm back then. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that said, Ms. Pierce, do you have any comments or wish to say anything on the project?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought maybe you would have some questions that I could answer. My mother bought the property in '65, and I visited then. I didn't live on it until very recently. My brother passed on last year and wasn't able to take care of it. So I've been, for the last 5 or 6 years, basically cleaning up and trying to make it habitable again. And what else? The after the fact garage. There was a garage that was part of the what you call the secondary house, the little house that you were just talking about. And it was used by my brother as like a mechanic's shop. And a tree limb, a huge one, came down in 2015, or sometime within the year before then, and crashed the roof down. So we dismantled it, and I applied for a permit about 2 years ago to start rebuilding, and it kept dragging on and dragging on. So we needed a place to store anything, materials, machines. And so I started building that garage, thinking that because it had been taken down by a natural disaster, there's some kind of verbiage in the code for the county saying that you can rebuild, but I didn't know you had to do it within, I think, a year. So that's why I started rebuilding that, and then it was stopped.
Okay. Well, thank you for that history and background. So I guess what I understand from Jesse is that, and this I guess is mostly directed to Mr. Andreas, you've had the opportunity to review the new condition 13 that says prior to final of any building or septic permit in reliance on this coastal development permit, the owner shall furnish a landscaping plan with planting of native regional appropriate species and areas of bare soil created by grading shall be revegetated as soon as practical using a native erosion control seed mix for approval from the coastal permit administrator to the satisfaction of the director of planning and building services. I guess the question is, are we all in agreement?
I don't understand where I have to put it. We're not going to do any grading that I know of.
Yes, we're not proposing any grading at this point, but we are in agreement with that item.
Right. Yeah, there may not be any grading, but it's the requirement for a landscaping plan.
Yes.
Okay.
We're also agreement with that a landscaping plan will be prepared prior to submittal to a building permit.
Okay.
Will it be part of the building permit?
Yes.
It'll have to be submitted. It must be submitted prior to the building permit or with the building permit, but before it can be approved.
Yes, it It would be prepared and submitted with the building permit application.
Okay, and these are typically submitted and reviewed by staff and run by the coastal permit administrator or by the planning director. So it should be fairly painless. And staff can work with you on this.
And I was told,
Pardon?
yeah, I was told that I have, that the drain field and septic tank plan should be approved as part of the coastal permit, although it's been already approved by health department. Is that correct?
Right. It'll be brought into the same process. The health department does have to weigh in on that and provides comments to planning and building on it.
Right. They've done that.
Okay, great. All right, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and, unless, either Mr. Andreas or Ms. Pierce, if you don't have any other questions or comments, I'd like to go ahead and open it up to the public and see if there's anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this matter.
There's no members of the public.
So there's no members of the public present?
Senator Jesse Waldman would like to request a clarification.
Go ahead.
The recommended condition 13 states that prior to final of a building permit, that the landscaping plan be approved by the CPA or the director. Shall I rewrite the condition to be prior to issuance of a building permit in association with this coastal development?
No, my mistake. It could be prior to final. I mean, basically what we're talking about is this is after the fact. So it's already there. It's not like it's proposed. So basically it's just to document what's on the ground. Correct? All right. So with that said, the condition can remain as is written. Okay. The last thing I want to do is throw another condition and other language at the applicant because they've already reviewed this, and so it would be prior to final. Okay, so nobody from the public, and I think everybody's in agreement with the conditions of approval, and I did not receive any negative comments from any public members. The memo from the Coastal Commission basically has been clarified in the memo dated February 10th, 2021. So I think all the issues have been addressed. Ms. Pierce, did you have any other comments?
Yes, there was a letter that my neighbor, I believe, sent to the address that was put on the notices of the public hearing. Judy Tarbell.
Do we have that
She sent me
correspondence?
Staff has not received any public comment in writing and or any phone calls regarding the coastal development project.
Well, she emailed me a copy of the letter that she sent to the PBS. I can look it up right now, actually.
Does that email? I'm not sure.
So I do not have. I do not have that.
Yeah, I can email you the copy that I have.
Okay, if you can provide it to Jesse Waldman, that'd be great.
Okay.
But can you tell us what the letter says?
I have the letter if you want me to make it part of the public record.
Sure, let's make it part of the public record.
All right. It is from Judy Tarbell, and it states, I have lived at 15168 Casper Road, next door to the Pierce property since 1986. Until Carol Pierce moved onto the property several years ago, her brother lived on the property. It was a dreadful scene with junk cars and rotting trailers. Carol Pierce has done an exemplary job of cleaning up the property and having trees removed which threatened our neighbors as well as herself. I look forward to her being able to rebuild the structures, and having a comfortable and clean home in which to live. Sincerely, Judy Tarbell.
Thank you very much. If you wouldn't mind providing that to Jesse Waldman, and then we can go ahead and put that into the file and make it part of the record.
Okay.
So that even further substantiates why we should move forward with the approval of the project. So again, I'm going to go ahead and return it back to the CPA, and again, reiterating that I have not received any negative comments on this project. There's nobody logged in to weigh in on public comment. So I'm going to go ahead and approve the project per the staff report findings, and with the modification adding condition number 13 per the memo dated 2/10/2021. So the project is approved with that slight modification of adding condition 13. And I want to thank you both, Ms. Pierce and Mr. Andreas, for your patience and for the work that you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to Jesse.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so with that said, moving on to item number 4, matters from staff. Do we have anything from staff?
I have no requests from staff.
All right. Matters from the public. The Coastal Permit Administrator welcomes participation in meetings. This item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the Coastal Permit Administrator, which are not on posted agenda, and items which have not already been considered by the Coastal Permit Administrator.
There are no matters from the public.
All right. So with that, I'll move on to item number 6, which is adjourning the meeting. Let the record show that this meeting is adjourned at 10:58 a.m. Thank you. Okay, so I would send Jesse an email